Hello everyone, tylovsims here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are building a modern take on a barn house for a retired couple. So the thought was that these Sims spent their entire professional life traveling. Maybe one of them was in like the tech world and the other one was an artist of some kind. That's just what I had in my head. And for whatever reason, they were able to travel the world while they were working, kind of like digital nomads, but probably before that was a thing. Um, and now that they've gotten older and have reached the end of their professional careers, they decided that it was time to settle in one place. And so they moved to the countryside of Hempford on Bagley and decided to build this house. And they wanted to have space to show off everything that they have collected over the years. So that's kind of like the basic gist that we've had. And one thing that kind of bugs me a little bit with The Sims, and it is getting better, is that like there's not a whole lot for elder Sims to do. And there's not a whole lot of focus on elderly Sims right around that time period. There's a lot of gameplay that's associated with the younger generations, and we're getting more and more for even like the young generations, especially after growing together. But with the elders, there's still just not as much focus on them. So I thought that it was a good idea to kind of build a house that was focused on it and had that type of, I guess, lifestyle and scenario like in my head. So that's basically what the gist was. And yeah, and that's what we're running with. So this house is kind of like, I don't know, I've been on this Grand Designs kick again where I've been watching old Grand Designs. And there was one house that was on there. It was called, I think, what is it? New Shed Old House, I think, off the top of my head. And it's basically this kind of a layout and this look and feel, but for a different set of people, obviously. But the thing that I really liked about this design was how unique it was and how it took basic, simple forms from like an agricultural setting and applied it to domestic architecture. So that's kind of the vibe that we went with. And since this is in Hempford on Bagley, I was like, let's take that type of a concept of this like agricultural type form, simplify it, and then put it into into this setting. So it's a 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom house. There's a like outdoor area, which like this awning that you're seeing here is going to go above it, and like I cut out all of the like floor and everything and remove it. In this like kind of that leads into this 2-story almost library space. And the idea is like the shelves are full of all of their different like books and travel memorabilia and like little knickknacks and stuff that they've picked up from all over the place. So it's like this 2-story vaulted bookshelves and everything that's all through there. And there's an open concept kitchen, living, dining, because I figured these, like this couple, they've been together for a long time. They've traveled and seen the world together. So having an open concept layout where it's just the two of them in this house, like I think that it makes sense. For some more family focused houses with like more young Sims and different generational divides, I sometimes like to segregate the spaces a little bit more, just because like I think that's a little bit more conducive to like family life, is having spaces to come together and then spaces to retreat to. But with this house, with it just being the two of them, I thought that it was better to have it a little bit more compact and collective with the open concept look. And you'll notice that I have a bunch of random pauses throughout the whole thing. I was going to get rid of them, but to be honest, I'm still learning the whole recording thing. This is my first speed build that I've ever done, and I wasn't entirely sure how to cut and whatever throughout the whole thing. So you're getting the entire build start to finish. It is 1.8 times faster than I built it, so this is a longer video. But when I sped it up even more, it just got kind of hectic and hard to see, especially when we got into the furnishing. And I thought I would rather have a longer video and no headache than a shorter video and a lot of headache. So that's just where we are. You'll notice that the door, like the primary entrance, is the one that you're looking at right now, and it's off to the side. But when you approach the house, that hallway kind of goes straight shot through, and you can see the patio. It's like a concrete pathway that leads from the front of the house straight to the back. That's all like a two-story gallery space, and it's got glass on either side. So if you notice where it lines up with those two big vertical windows, it's literally a straight shot right through the house. And the idea is that it was the kind of main street of the house, because I figured like when you're traveling everywhere, every place that you go to has its own version of a main street. And so with these folks who are used to traveling all over the place, I thought, well, this house should have a quote unquote main street that everything is off of. So that one thoroughfare that you see from the time that you come to the facade of the house and you see it from where the road is, straight through, it's like your main street. The kitchen is off of it. It goes out to the back where there's a big garden, and then all the other spaces branch off that main street as well. So it's like your thoroughfare that you get to see everybody. So that's kind of the concept of that. And I really wanted it to feel very connected and organic to the outside. So you'll notice that in the main areas where it's 2 stories, the ceilings are going to be the same blue color that you see in the sky. So when you walk in, it's almost like you're looking up to the sky and the clouds. And then on the lower slung areas where the ceiling's lower, I cladded the ceilings in this kind of like in my head, it's white oak wood ceilings. And that kind of roots it as though you were in the trees and you have like the trees forming a canopy on top of you. So it's this play on the greens of the outside, the environment around it, the sky above you, and the kind of tree canopy enclosing you. That's sort of what the vibe is here. And then on the outside, I really wanted it to match the trees that are around there, but then with some industrial elements, because this is a bit more agriculture of a form, like the actual building form itself is a bit more of an agricultural form. So I wanted to combine it with something that was incredibly man-made and that couldn't be mistaken for anything other than a man-made substance. So I went with steel. So the awning and the little cover that's over top of the main entrance are both steel. And then the actual building itself is a really organic and textured wood. For the roof, that roof is, I think it, like the actual texture in The Sims is like a straw texture. It came with cottage living, but I wouldn't want it to be straw in real life. I thought it would be a little bit more almost mossy, like almost like a green roof. But the green roof that we have was a little too green, and I didn't want it to look like the lawn was on your roof. I wanted it to look a little bit more, I guess it's weird to say organic because grass is organic, but I don't know. I wanted something that was a different texture that still felt really earthy. And there are solar panels on the roof. I believe that if you were traveling all over the place and saw the world, you'd probably have a bigger appreciation for environmentalism, especially if you see so many different environments. So maybe this couple, they've been all over the place. They've traveled a lot. They've seen different parts of the world. So when they came here to actually settle and build a spot, after being kind of nomadic for a while, they wanted to do their part. So there's a big garden in the back. There's and the solar panels and everything all play into that. And like kind of a technical explanation, but the building form being as simple as it is, it would be really efficient if it were to be built in real life. So everybody who watches this channel, you probably know at this point that I'm a huge fan of like passive eco-friendly type designs. So simple building forms is a really good way of making a house super efficient. And the landscaping also reflects that. I really have gotten into the idea of like meadow landscaping. So it's landscaping that's very natural, but doesn't need to be kept. Like it's not pretending to be an elaborate, well-tended, looked-after garden, but it still kind of blends it in and makes it look a little bit like you're living in a meadow. So the pond in the front is just a really nice water feature that we have some of that. And then here's where we start to get into the landscaping, and you can see that it's meant to look a little wild. So it grows right up to the concrete path, and it's a little bit overgrown. There's a lot of flowers in there, but not necessarily tended flowers. It's just flowers that would creep up if this house wasn't here. It's what the whole field would look like. So we go a little landscape heavy here in a second. but it's kind of nice. And I really love, there's a one view, and I'll show it to you later, from inside that two-story library space where it looks out over that little patio, and there's a outdoor eating area that's on these like pebble stones, and it's just surrounded by this meadow look, and I think it's super cool. And you'll notice that I do none of the terrain painting right now. I have gotten into the habit of doing terrain painting last because there is that glitch where the terrain paint goes away. It hasn't been fixed in my game yet, and I've heard other creators talking about it too. And hopefully you haven't experienced it, but if you have, it is so frustrating to finish a build and do all the landscaping and everything, and then go to do the inside, hit the save button, and then everything just disappears. So because of that, I was like, I'm not even going to entertain doing the terrain paint until the very end. So that way, once I hit upload and it's on the gallery, then if the terrain paint disappears, it disappears because the house is up and saved. So that's why I did it in this route. So we do the entire exterior without the terrain paint, and then at the very end we revisit and do the terrain paint. So that's kind of the new process workaround that I've got. And yeah. So for the pond, I wanted to do a slightly more minimal pond, just because, I don't know, I could have gone really elaborate with this and like just, all the way around and super lush and everything. But I think it would have called too much attention to itself given the type of landscaping that's everywhere else on the lot. Because if you surrounded it and crowded it, it would make it more of a standout feature and less of an organic, there's just a pond here. And because we're so close to the water, like this is what is it? I think it's supposed to be like a national park lot or something. I changed it to a residential lot. So we're so close to the water that the water table would be high enough that that pond would need to be there in order to catch water from the house if it rained or anything. So I wanted it to look less like it's a feature and more like it's there because it has to be. So that's sort of what that looked like and why I went a little bit lighter on the landscaping there. And these trees, I love them. So this is the intentional part of the garden. These trees wouldn't be natural. They would have been purposely planted. And they line up with that kind of Main Street idea again. So if you're standing there, the trees frame the front of that house and frame those big glass windows that shoot through the entire space. So those would have been planted. And then everything else in the garden is a little bit more organic. So it's almost like Central Park in New York City. Everybody thinks, not everybody thinks. We know that it's totally architecturally designed and put in, but it's been around for so long that it tricks people who are in the park to think that it is all natural because it mimics that, but it's actually really intentionally well designed and put together. So that's sort of what this landscape is. It's meant to mimic the natural world around it and to pay respect to it. But there are parts of it, like this tree-lined area and the pond and whatever, that are deliberately structured in, but would be made to blend as though it was there naturally. So all the other trees that are being placed around, like I'm about to throw in some trees here, which I'm literally just doing as I said that. But these trees would have been quote unquote the like natural trees that would have been there. And you can see how like the camera's angling down. That's me looking at the trees that are around the place to try and match them in. I'm literally pointing at my screen. You can't see it, but anyway. So I'm taking the trees that are around the lot and I'm starting to place them in sort of similar orders and clusters that you see around the place. So like that lighter, kind of more olivey green next to the big spruce tree. Those type of green shades are side by side around the lot. So I took those green shades and blended them around the place. And then this one here, this structure that's going in, this is a 2-car garage. I didn't put anything in this just because we don't really have a lot of garage stuff to go in here. I could have put a gym and all that other stuff, but I didn't think it fit with the Sims that I had in here. So it's just extra space if you do decide to download this. And, Sims always have that one random thing that you apparently need for a career or whatever that take up a ton of space that you don't want in your house. So this can be used for all of that. And I wanted this to be a different shade to the house. I didn't want your attention to be pulled towards the garage. I wanted your attention to be fully on the house itself. So I took the color that the tree trunks are, so that kind of darker, more sprucey colored brown, and I threw that on the garage. And then I put a regular old, it's like a, in real life, it would be a tin roof or a steel roof or whatever, probably tin in real life. So that way it just like all those shades really blend in. So when I put the trees around this, like you'll notice it's off to the side. You can't really, it doesn't call the attention, especially with the big frame on the front of the house of the small little pine trees that go in. So that way it's a little bit more hidden and doesn't call the attention. The attention's fully on the main house. So that's a bit of what, you know, it's a push and pull thing. It's about where your eye goes and where it falls. So, and all of these little landscape pieces that you see, these low-lying shrubs that are under the tree. A part of me is like, your lawnmower can't get that close to tree trunks if you're gonna have a lawnmower. So, and unless you're going around with like one of those handheld, I don't know, people call them different things. It's like weed eater, whipper snipper, whatever it is that you call it. I don't know. I'm here on the Canadian East Coast, we call them whippersnippers, which is kind of funny. But anyway, weird words. English is weird. But, you know, unless you were going around doing that, which like these folks they got better things to do than going around and doing that. So I intentionally placed those under the trees to make it look like, you know, if the lawnmower can't get it, then they're not going to do it. And here I am pausing again. I don't know what I was doing during this pause. I think I might have been, I don't know, distracted. I was listening to a bunch of YouTube videos, and I think one of my friends messaged me on Instagram. So I was probably doing one of those two things. But this is the outdoor dining area, and this is the only space in the whole house that can seat 8 Sims. Again, because it's the two of them that are here, the interior dining space is only a 4-seater table. And the idea is that if friends or family or whatever were going to be coming over to stay at this space, you would want them to be outdoors. This is something I've noticed a lot in like other like Mediterranean countries mostly, but I think it happens all over the world. But the kind of like alfresco dining, when people come over, you host outside. So a part of me was like, let's take that idea and throw it here to the house. So that way you can have, you know, you would cook in the kitchen, you would bring it all out here, serve your guests out here. And then after dinner, when it starts to get a little bit cooler, you can come inside to that 2-story library space, maybe have like an after dinner, you know, cocktail, or, you know, maybe a glass of wine or something like that, and, you know, pull something off the shelf or any of that jazz, and have it just be like, there was a whole vibe that was planned for this place. So that's kind of what the justification for the big table is outside and the small tables inside. Because, you know, I just picture like if you've traveled everywhere and you've seen a bunch of stuff and you spend all that time, like how could you not love being outside? So if you're gonna host outside, why not? And here we are, just continuing with that landscaping. I kind of kept a similar theme the whole way through, and the main flowers that are out there are daisies, because daisies don't actually need a ton of sunlight. At least I don't think they do, maybe. Oh, I might have just shown how little I know about actual plants. But they don't need a ton of I operated under the assumption that they don't need a ton of light. So they kind of went all over this mossy stuff. And then the more colorful plants would kind of spread a little bit like weeds. Like this type of lavender tulip thing, they are more like the purple plant. They grow like weeds. So if like they grow all over the place and they kind of dominate. And I think that's similar with those types of little like assorted flowers that are going all over the place there. That's kind of how they grow. Like if you look between highways and stuff like that. And then roses as well. Roses are like an invasive species, truly. So they grow all over the place. So I figured if you throw those types of plants together and let them go really organically, they would eventually just expand. So as the house settled into its space, and as these owners let it like kind of let it mature, the siding of the house, like that would silver, and then the landscaping itself would expand as it goes, and that way it would really settle in, and you'd have that full meadow look over time. But you can't really achieve that in this game, mostly because it's hard to blend it to the edges, and then the item count would be so high on this that the house would be like $1 million. I don't actually know what the total cost ended up being of this place, but there are a lot of items. There was a lot of clicking that was going on with my, placing all of them and everything. So if I had have fully gone all in with that meadow idea of the landscaping, it would have been hard to blend it into the edges, and the item count would have been just out of this world. So I decided not to. And then out here, I thought, well, these folks are used to running all over the place and being on the go. So now that they're becoming a little bit more on the quiet side and having a bit more of a quiet sedentary lifestyle almost, they're still going to want something to keep them busy. And I have this vision of growing your own vegetables, going out, picking them from the garden, bringing them inside to the kitchen, which is right through the doors down that pathway that you're seeing, like those double doors at the back of the house. The kitchen is literally right there. So you can just pop out, grab whatever it is that you're going to cook, pull it back inside, chop it up, and be good to go. So that's I like having the proximity there. And then I think I put a couple more trees in the backyard. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the one extra tree. But anyway, so that one's there, and that finishes up our landscaping. So pretty lush. Honestly, it's quite minimal for like what it could be. It's basically just trees and some low-lying plants, which, I mean, I know it's not like, overly minimal, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's meant to look a little more natural. And then I put a couple of hedges here on the edge of this just to frame in where that building joins the edge of the lot. And that little planter that's underneath of it is I think that's from Island Living. And I like throwing that under that hedge because it makes it meet the ground a little bit better. So that's pretty much it. I might extend that pathway so that it goes, yeah, I do. So that way you kind of traces and frames in the outside of that building. And yeah, there you go. You can see that main street right down the center of that house. Saving, always good to save. And I think now we're diving right into the interior. So I started right away with that library space, I believe. And, we painted the base layer. It's all white. The interior does not stay all white. Some of the spaces do, and then other spaces don't. And I played a lot with, I really like Frank Lloyd Wright, and one of the things that he did really well was the idea of compression and release. And with this house, I played around with it a little bit because of the two-story vaulted areas, but it more so comes in with color. So especially upstairs, through the little vaulted areas, like the catwalk that's in the library area, the thing that I liked about it was there's spaces where it's totally black. Like there's two totally blacked out boxes, those two little squares where I just put the doors in. That's all black. The ceiling is black, and it's almost like it gives you a second to reset from the color that's going to be in the space before you enter the two bedrooms that are in opposite, like that are in different colors. So that's sort of the vibe that we had going on. And then that way there's like moments of pause, so you're not overwhelmed by all the color that's in the spot. Ignore what I'm doing here with the flooring. I thought it would be, cute to do the whole angled thing and switch the directions of the floors and blah blah blah, and like it could have worked, but in the end I just ditched it. I thought maybe it was trying too hard. So in the end, I let it go, but this, yeah, I wanted the floors to look sort of reclaimed. Same with the doors. So, because this is sort of like a modern take on a barn. So I thought maybe there was an actual barn that was being torn down on like another property or something around here. And rather than see the materials go away, they thought, oh, what a great way to, floor our house. So I tried a bunch of them and then I settled on this one, which I believe is base game. Also, I think all of the landscaping that's outside is all base game. So if you do download the house, the whole landscaping is base game. And then the exterior, those windows are Snowy Escape and base game. The doors are base game, and then the big sliders that you see in the library area, I think those are Island Living, and then the interior doors are Cottage Living. But that's pretty much where my knowledge of what packs are used ends. So you could see there a second ago, that's the blue ceiling. So it's meant to look like the sky. So I was just double checking the edge of it. And I'm like, I think it's as close as I can get to the sky color. Yeah. I'm like looking up and like, is that close? I think it's the same tone. It's close enough. So that way, like in the 2-story areas, you can just look up and see the sky. So here we go into the furnishing. This is the big 2-story library. Now, these shelves were a pain to place. They snap to the wall, which is really nice, but they also are modular and they snap together. So you can see here, this is part of the struggle. I was like, why are you not going where you need to? So I moved it over there and then crossed my fingers, and luckily it worked. So that's pretty good. And then I took these little modular square pieces and use those to fill in the gap because this is a 2-story area. So I wanted the gap to be as small as I could possibly make it. And then here we go, I was trying to line it up so that with the exterior edge so it wasn't poking through the window. Because these shelves don't slot on the half tiles, they slot in the center of the tile, which is kind of weird because they are, like if you put 2 of them side by side, it's the same width as the one tile, so they are a quarter tile size. But for some, yeah, look, this is the struggle part that's happening. But they don't slot that way. And I thought it was really weird. I didn't know that was a thing. And then here we go. Now you can see that I'm like, is that poking through the window? It is. And then I went to line it up at the far edge. So, and then did the same over here. But the good news is that once you get that done, these slot directly on top of each other. So when I went to go place the second row of these above them, it was a lot easier to do. And then this wall was the easiest because there wasn't anything that was clipping into one another. So in the end, it worked. There's a lot of shelf space in here. Like it would take forever to fill this library. But you know what? They did it. They did it. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. When I was making this, I thought to myself, maybe everywhere that they were traveling, they picked up some book or something from where they had gone, or a few books from where they had gone. Maybe one of them, like especially from an art perspective, a lot of what art is understanding different cultures and takes and identities and things like that and how they interact with one another. So maybe a lot of these books are like cultural references or mythologies maybe, or all that other stuff. So they could have picked up all of these from everywhere. And you'll notice now I'm putting mirrors behind the bookshelves because there's no wall space in here, which is weird to say because like there are 3 other walls. But when you have shelves on the walls, you don't have wall space for art. And the 3rd wall that's in this room, or the 4th wall that's in it, is the glass wall. So there's no hanging space anywhere in there. So I thought a clever way to make the space visually expand, because it is a fairly small room actually, floor plan or floor size wise, that it would be a good idea to put the mirror behind it to visually expand it when you're in there. And then that way, like when you're sitting down and you're looking around, the light will reflect differently behind everything. And that way it's more of an immersive space without it being, you know, without needing art to be the interest or whatever. The light and the way the light and the shadows play off of all of these shelves will be what takes over. And then this was before I figured out that I wanted those two kind of square rooms to be all blacked out. So I love this rich green color. I use it a lot. This is probably one of my favorite wallpapers in the whole game. I love how dense that forest green is. I don't know. It just, oh, it looks so good. So I use that everywhere in this library, even behind the bookshelves, just because like the small little gaps that are between the two-story windows, you'll see the green there, and that way it really just takes all of the tones that are out through those windows and throws it into the house. So it dissolves that line. And then up here on this mezzanine, that really is still part of this library because the bookshelves go all the way up. So I wanted something like I treated that little hallway as though it was part of this downstairs area too. So the color tones that are up there and the art piece that you see leaning and that old clock that's on the wall, that's all meant to be in conversation with what's down on that floor on the lower level. So it literally is a two-story vaulted space that's through there. And you can see now I've blacked out those two rooms. So it gives you the break from the green before you go into the colorful bedrooms upstairs. And then down here, this is the like kind of secondary theme that I had was since this couple has been to, I don't know, so many different, countries and places and worlds and whatever, like maybe they've been to, the Jungle Adventures world and the, Sulani and all those other places, that I wanted the furniture to reflect that eclectic style. So you'll notice like this type of side table that's there, it looks almost like it might be from Marrakesh. So, and it's got that really nice like antique detail, and I reflected that in the dining or in the little coffee table there. Like maybe that's hand painted. I know that that's really common around the world to have artisans actually hand make and hand paint those types of motifs on everything. So that's what I thought was maybe they picked these up from places. And then, the chair, maybe it was a secondhand thing that they got when they moved here. And you'll see that reflected throughout all the different rooms. Is like there's no real interior style that's overly cohesive. It's each of the furniture pieces are different styles, and it's meant to look like they're from different places. But what unites it are the color schemes. So this couch is about to change color. It's going to go this type of corally color. And that corally color will repeat in different ways in all of the different rooms. So it'll be in the entry hallway, like that kind of Main Street hallway. It'll be in the great room that's right behind this place, in two like little side chairs. And then upstairs, it's reflected in one of those portraits that's up on that little upper area of the library. So rather than use like a distinct furniture style to unite it, I wanted to use color schemes to do that and have the colors be in conversation with one another. So that was the secondary theme of the whole house, and I thought it reflected these Sims that I had in my head. I haven't made them. I probably should have at the start of this, but that's okay. And then here, I was using the 9 key, and I thought, like, what can I put over here that isn't really a plant? Just because with that wall there, and these doors do slide open, so with all the greenery there and having the green on the walls, it does feel like you're outside. So this room didn't actually need more greenery in it. So I thought when I found that vase or vase or however you want to urn, I don't know what it is, but when I found that piece of pottery, I thought maybe I can overlayer this with just a tree branch and have that organic form break up the geometric lines that are all over the place with all these shelves. So to try and balance it out a little bit, but without putting more greenery in the space. So that's, I don't know if it worked or if it's really reading or not, but that's what I thought. And here we go, decorating these shelves. This took a long time. So there's like a ton of pictures from everywhere that they've been, maybe their family photos too, little knickknacks from whatever, like that little train car that it just threw on that shelf, maybe that's from San Francisco. The incense, they probably picked that up. Maybe, I don't know, they could have been in Nepal or something like that and picked up the incense. Little, you know, creature comforts and stuff like that. And then I put a little basket here of like blankets and stuff because this is a 2-story room, so it might get a little bit chilly to try and heat all that space. So, you know, have a little blanket, cozy up with a book, that type of jazz. Obviously, putting some Kleenex down. Like, you see all these fancy house tours and everything, and it's like, do people actually live in these homes? Like, where are the little things that are objectively not nice to look at, but everybody has to have in their house? So I just stuck it on the bookshelf there. There's another one in the great room too. So that type of jazz. And then here they are. There are books everywhere. It could be like atlases or, you know, travel guides or, you know, mythos or any of that other stuff. So I did the strategy of like place them everywhere and then go back through and recolor all of them to save some time, because I knew when I saw all of those shelves that in order to get that vision across, it was going to take a long time. So on the lower shelves are where all the knickknacks are and those types of things, because that's sort of your living space. Like the space that you would see and touch and have ready available access to are these lower shelves. And the higher up you go, you'd probably have to have, like, you would have a ladder in real life to get up there, and like we don't have that in The Sims. I mean, like they do with custom content, but I don't personally use custom content for no other reason than it's just sometimes it's a hassle to download it. So that's literally the only reason why, and my computer doesn't have a ton of storage, so that's it. So in the absence of custom content all over the place, this was, you know, I was like, you can just pretend. So the higher up you go, the more book driven it is, and the lower down you are, where people would touch and interact and all that other stuff, is all of the little memorabilia things. So if you were telling a story, or like maybe their grandkids come over, they could literally just pull a picture off the shelf and be like, look at this, here's the story, you know, photo albums, stuff like that. I have a lot of really cool memories of my grandparents pulling like a random book off the shelf and having it be a photo album and things like that. So I could see that happening now that these folks are in one place, being able to do that with family and friends as they come over. So there's all of the recoloring happening. There was no rhyme or reason or pattern. I didn't want it to look patterned. I just wanted it to look natural. So I literally just went through and clicked random ones, and whatever color popped up was the color that I chose. And then if it looked a little too repetitive, then I would just change it. So that's kind of my tip for doing shelves and things like this. Like, if you're gonna do it, just go for it and try not to second guess it, because in real life, if you are going to have a bookshelf, you're not going to second guess it. You're going to like pull it off the shelf, you're going to put it back on the shelf, maybe it's in a different place, so the colors aren't going to be cohesive, it's not going to look fancy or any of that other stuff, especially if you're actually using the space. So that was a little bit of a read to, you know, to book talk, but anyway, if you're actually using the space, it's going to look more organic, it's not going to look totally color coordinated and all that other stuff. So that's sort of what my little tip is literally just go for it. And that's what I did with this interior. So now that we've done the kind of clutter, in a way, mess that is the library, we're now going into the great room. So this is the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen are all in this space. And I was going to do a little bit more of a streamlined modern look, but then I thought, you know what? No, why stop now? Just go for it. So I put some trunks down. Maybe these are maybe they're from the war. Like, it could be that, probably not this. I think this generation are too young that they would have been around it, but maybe their parents were. So these might be some like memorabilia from like their parents or whatever who may have enlisted and all that other stuff. Like, maybe they have those. That's just where my head went. And then the mirror and the actual like this the back of that couch is almost like it's almost Victorian. I think it's more Victorian. It's less it the other one that they have, like there are two more ornate couches like that are in the base game. That one I think is more Victorian. The other one reads a little bit more like Louis the 16th type style. So the other one's a little more French. This one's a little more English. And since we're in Hemford on Bagley, to me this world reads very very British. So I wanted to take a more British style, like this Victorian couch, and pull it into here. But since it is a European world, that mirror is a little bit more of a like I I think it's a little more French style, but I might be off on that. But anyway, that's sort of the vibe is pulling from different more European esque aesthetics and throwing all together. Like that rug to me looks probably as Scandinavian as it can get. Like I picture it being like a jute rug, which just it reads very Scandi to me. So all of that, like picking and choosing from that, like this, you can't tell me that that TV shelf is not IKEA. So it's sort of the that type of vibe. And then this room can take the plants because there's no window on that wall by the wood stove. So I wanted to take plants that are where the couch is facing, so that way you still have greenery in that corner. Whereas if you're sitting on the orange chairs and you're looking outside, you don't need plants on that side of the room because you're seeing the meadow. So I wanted to balance out what the outside's doing with the inside based off of what you're seeing when you're sitting down. And then there, like that's a little, I don't know. Those remind me of Google Homes. My house is full of them, and that just it reminds me of a Google Home speaker. So I'm like maybe they've embraced the Google Home. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but every time I see that speaker, that's what I think of. And then over here, they were definitely in, is it Mount Komorebi, I think is the name. So maybe they were like over there. Perhaps one of the two of them was doing some like snowboarding or whatever in their youth and picked up that some of the stuff from when they were over there trying that out. And then this is the dining table. I'm a big fan of using black in interiors to root the design, and then using color to kind of like accent everything. So you notice that the couch is black, the table is black, and the wood stove is black. Those are kind of the triangle that roots the design, and then that way the colors that are all over the place can really sing. And I toyed around with, you'll see it in a second, that I toyed around with some wall colors in here, but I ended up keeping the walls white. And I did that because I wanted these items that have color, like the furniture itself, to be what holds the focus in the room. Because if you put a bunch of colors on your walls, it can work really, really well. But the furniture becomes the decor in the space, and the white walls let the furniture be the furniture and the people be the things that you're seeing. So I ended up keeping the walls white in here. Probably the only spaces in the whole house that do stay white. And then here I was looking at the space that I had and I was thinking like, is there enough space there? Is there not? I do scoot it over a little bit. And then here for the kitchen, I didn't want the kitchen to feel overly kitcheny, which is really weird to say. But since it is open concept, I didn't want you at any point to feel like you were just staring at, like I didn't want you to feel like you were in a kitchen the entire time that you were in this open concept space. So one of the ways that I did it was that I took away the idea of the bar stools. So that island is totally for prep space. And then in the styling of this kitchen, I styled it as though it's part of a living space and not a kitchen itself. Sorry, I just burped there. I don't know if anybody heard that. I'm leaving it in. But anyway, so I took, I'm very classy, so I took the idea of this being an extension of the living area rather than the living area be an extension of the kitchen, if that makes any sense. And I took forever to find upper cabinets. I was like, is this the right tone? Is it not? Just because of those are like spa day wall decorations that are filling out that island to take away where the bar stools go. And because that wood tone is there, I was trying to match it with the upper cabinets, and I couldn't. That wood tone is really, really hard to match in this game. So then I started looking at other alternatives, and I thought, do I add another texture? Do I not? And then it's probably the most versatile kitchen is this Home Chef Hustle kitchen. So I took those, whited it out with the white countertops and the white cabinet fronts, and that way it just almost dissolved into it resolved it all without needing to match that wood. And then where that gap is between the upper cabinets is where the sink is going to go, and then I style up the rest of the place. So, and then I realized it was a long time since the last time that I saved. So in here, there goes the sink, and then we really get into the styling of this kitchen here in a second, and hopefully you'll see what I mean. So the first thing that I did in here was brought some greenery into the kitchen, and then I scaled that down using the 9 key. I couldn't figure out what scale I wanted it, but I was like, that's totally cutting into the countertop. So I went a little bit smaller. It ended up working out okay because I took this kind of picture set. This one didn't scale properly. I had to scale it too small in order to fit where I wanted it to, but the other one worked out really well, like this one here. And I have no idea which pictures I actually end up choosing. I can't, maybe it is those, but I think it is that. So you notice that like the plant being that small, it actually did work out. And with those pictures resting there, it immediately like blurs the line of, is this a kitchen? Is this a side table? Is it not? So that's why I kind of styled the kitchen this way. And then I took that light as well. And I really tried to make it feel a little more like this is part of a living room as opposed to a kitchen. So the mirror there too, since there is no window, I thought the mirror was a good way of expanding the space. Did have to put the safety, and that's where I noticed that we had this new burglar alarm that came in the update, and I was like, oh, I should probably put that down somewhere before I forget it, because if I don't, then you're gonna get robbed in this house. I'm so happy that we have burglars again. Yeah, I've been playing The Sims more and not just building in it. See, and then over here I was like, no, that's the wrong spot to put those. And because I've been playing The Sims more, it does get a little bit boring. And I think having the burglars back will bring a little bit of extra added chaos to the game, which I really missed. I liked in The Sims 3 how you would always, like you'd just be going about your day, and then out of nowhere, like your TV's gone. So, I don't know. It's fun. It's another layer that I don't think that we have like that we had previously. So I'm happy that they're back. Here's that pause again. I think I was switching podcasts, but you'll notice that the sink isn't in the island. I think I talked about this in my last video for the house that we're planning on building in real life. I kept the sink out of the island for the same reason, because I built this pretty much at the same time that I was building the other house, and it's like it's out of the island so that you have a dedicated prep space. And what that allowed me to do was take this table lamp and throw it up there with another plant on the island, which, you know, when you style it that way, it's like, is this an island or is this, you know, like a hall table? So it, again, it's just blurring that line. And then I threw this little Apple mirror in here because I thought it was fun. Like I could see one of the Sims being like the artist Sim looking at that and thinking, oh, that's kooky. Like, let's throw that in there. So I don't know. I had a very, very clear vision of the Sims that were going to be living in this place. And I don't know. It came together very, very fast. And here you can see I was like toying around with the colors, but I ended up keeping it white just because I didn't think this room needed the color. But you could totally add it if you wanted to. Like it didn't it didn't look bad. I just don't think it was necessary. And then there I scooted the table over so there's more space. But that's a balance that I'm still trying to get, is like how, because I used to be a like real minimalist. Even in real life, the house that I live in now, we there is color throughout it, but at its core, it's a very minimal design, and I love the minimalism look. But I'm starting to get to the point that I want to have some more color in my space. So I've been really experimenting with blending that, like the minimalism of like the white walls and the, the black furniture that roots the space, but then adding personality and color back into the place and clutter back into the place, just not necessarily to a maximalist extent, but I'm starting to blend that together a little bit more. Oh, and there's another pause. Anyway, who knows what I was doing at this point? I was probably, the cat must have fallen off the cat tree and all over my desk. So she did that the other day, and like the keyboard went, the mouse went, the like knocked over a water bottle. It was hectic. So going down this hallway, I wanted a gallery wall moment, and I love this gallery wall piece, and I don't know if anybody else finds it this way as well, or maybe I'm just reading too far into it. I find that on its own, that gallery wall piece doesn't look complete. Maybe it's because it's a triangle shape, but you can see that I'm adding Jerry, and I've added that little piano picture as well underneath of it, just so that it becomes more of a rectangle. And I think that it just finishes it off a little more. Otherwise, like I'd have to put a plant or something there, and this hallway is really narrow, so I didn't want to intrude on the space, especially since I was going to put a side table, literally right over by where those alarms are, which I'm doing right now. And you can see that this one here is the coral repeat again. So there's some in the living room with the chairs, there's some in the library, and then there's more that's here in the entryway. And then that mirror is definitely more French. It looks a lot more like delicate. It's like, I don't know. I find it. I think it's French. It reminds me of the emblem that's on the top of Versailles, like in the clock courtyard. I've never been, but I've seen a whole bunch of pictures and everything, and like that little detail that's around that clock, and the in that, I think it's the Queen's Court, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that detail that's around there reminds me of that, and it's beautiful. But anyway, that gallery wall, I think it needs to be more squared. And then here I contrasted the entrance. Like this is what you see as soon as you walk in, and I like the idea of having a really energizing punch to to the entrance of the house. Because if you come home, usually you've had a long day. Usually it's because you've been running around, and when you enter the space, I really love having something that's like a punch of color that re-energizes you. And from color theory, the most energizing color is yellow. So if you walk in and you see yellow, it's like, it's loud, it's right in your face, and it does sort of, like, I don't know, it's a very bright, almost like a jolt color. So having that in the entranceway, it's almost like the reset when you walk in the house of like, yes, I'm home, I'm ready. And that way you can, go about the rest of your day. So down here, this is the guest bedroom. So these folks would have friends all over the world, and they would likely want to come and stay if they were, still in the travel mentality and whatever. Like the guests would want to come, and they would want a place to stay and share all of their stories, and maybe bring one of them a fancy bottle of wine or whatever from Italy or something like that. So that's kind of what this room is for, is like the stayover room. And I thought, why not go wild with this? So this bed, to me, I don't know, it's almost like, I don't know much about kind of gothic-y design or anything, but this really reminds me of like something Italian, like maybe it's Venetian. I don't know if it actually is, but in my head I thought that this would be a little bit more of like a Venetian style bed. I could be totally off on that, but anyway, beside the point. So I thought, like, let's take that, but then let's screw around with that motif by adding a little bit more modern touches in here. So you've got the bed that is immediately a statement, and that bed on its own takes the whole weight of the room. So the rest of it could be quieter, which is why I put in like the super plain wardrobes. I complemented the blue of the bedspread. This is going to be a yellow stripe chair, and I like having the stripes just because it breaks up the flat patterns that are going to be everywhere else in the room. Like the walls are flat in this room, and the bedspread's flat. So having that little bit of variation in the yellow tones really like it just adds some more energy to the space. And then I put down this laundry day layered rug vibe. Is it laundry day? I think it's laundry day. But I put down that layered rug vibe too to warm the space. And then looking at these wallpapers, I went with a very plain, it's like kind of a taupe color. Like there it is right there. I pulled it from the rug, and then I bookended it with matte black walls, which might be a little shocking, but I think it just really modernized the space without necessarily like relying on the furniture to convey it. So, and it didn't detract from the statement piece that is that bed. And then you can see that I swapped out the side lamps with these ones that came down from the ceiling, these pendants, because of that elevation that's above the bed. The weight was in the ceiling, so I wanted something that if you walk in and you saw it, it brought the weight from the ceiling down to where the actual bed is, because as soon as you walk in, the first thing you would see is the top end of that headboard. And so without something that brings your eye down, you would just land on that and stay there. So that's why I swapped it out for the pendants. And then this is the downstairs bathroom. And I wanted each of the 3 bathrooms. There's 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms in this place. I don't know if I said that already. This is a long video, so I'm not entirely sure what I have or haven't said. But with this one, I wanted the 3 bathrooms to be completely different. And since there is green down there, this is all the new tiles and everything, I wanted to go full immersive green bathroom in that like really rich forest color. So it's consistent with some of the other rooms in the house. And again, it wouldn't feel overly bathroomy. Like it's obviously a bathroom, but it would be super immersive, but in those color schemes that fit with the rest of the downstairs. And since there's no window, which might be a little problematic in real life, maybe it's got like really good venting outside, like who knows. But with that, it makes you feel a little bit more natural because there's no actual greenery that you can see anywhere. I've cheated the greenery by kind of encompassing you in that green. And then this is the laundry room. You can take it out if you don't like playing with laundry in The Sims. I don't like playing with laundry in The Sims. It's way too hectic. But real houses have laundry rooms, so I put a laundry room in here. And I wanted the laundry room to be a whole mood and something that you wouldn't otherwise expect. So this room is totally blacked out. Black ceiling, black tile floor, black tile walls, and then everything else inside is blacked out. So that way, even though it's a tiny little room, the walls will recede, the floor will recede, and it'll make you feel like you're almost floating in space. And then that way, the only thing that calls attention to you when you're in there is that window that acts like a picture frame. And then I threw in this pop of gold just because the gold and the black look really good together. But you've got to, like, when you're sitting in there and you're doing the laundry, that window frame will be the only thing that has color. So that will basically cheat you into thinking that, like, into looking at that while you're doing laundry. This really long, narrow room, like, it would probably be a mechanical room in real life, likely, but I just used it for all those, like, random gameplay things that you have to have that you don't necessarily want to look at all of the time. So again, I just blacked out the room and then threw in the Christmas tree and like the little seasons decoration thing or whatever. I'm currently playing with this sim family right now, and like the holiday system that's in the game requires you to have that in every household. So I just threw it in there, so that way you don't have to purchase it or whatever. It's ready to go for gameplay. And then here at the top of the stairs, I wanted a sculpture piece, but I wasn't sure what to choose, and I was just kind of scrolling through looking for stuff, and then I found this little thing from Island Living, and I thought that was perfect. And then I was looking for a pedestal. These ones turned out to be way bigger than they look in the catalog, so I just ended up going with this little dream home decorator one, and placing it under the window like that, so it has its own standalone piece. And then here we are upstairs. You can see that the two, like, it's kind of mirrored, actually. It's very symmetrical. So there's this like little blacked out room that's right there. I just fully blacked it out with the blackout ceilings as well. And then this is where I added in, I was going to do a black ceiling in the guest room, but that's when I thought twice about it and threw the wood ceiling in. So you'll notice that I'm still playing around with other things. And then here's where I decide on the wood ceiling. So in goes the wood floor, or the wood ceilings, and then this is where I add in the blackout ceilings in the bathrooms. So all the bathrooms have blackout ceilings, so does the mechanical, quote-unquote mechanical room, and so do the little laundry room over there. I'm pretty sure I black out that ceiling too. If I didn't, then no, I think I forgot to. Yeah, I did forget to. Okay, so there's one white ceiling that's left in the place, which is in the laundry room. Whoops. That's okay. You can fix that. Can't believe I missed that. But anyway, so this is one of the two ensuite bathrooms. This one is off of what would be another guest room, but I turned it into the office / art studio for these two Sims. And I wanted this one to just be really blue. So again, each of the bathrooms have their own character. So this one's black, blue, and white. Downstairs is all green and black, and then the other one is very much a spa feel. So don't worry, it's not that color. I started looking for blue colors because I was positive that there was a blue tone that matched, and then yeah, there it is. So there is a matching blue tone to those tiles, which I was impressed by. And then once I blued out the whole place, I thought that we needed more black to go with that mirror. So once I started adding in some of these little decorative pieces, I throw in some of the kind of what are they called? Bathrobes. There they are. So I was going to do white, and then when I took a second look, I was like, no, those have to be black to mirror the mirror. To match that mirror and to bring a little bit more black in here, just again to root down the space. Like I thought that it needed to be that way, and then I think I throw a picture in. Yeah, I do. Just about the bathtub. That's the only bathtub in the space. So maybe if you do move Sims in and who do have young children, you can use this room or like that office as the children's room, and that way there's a bathtub for like the toddler Sims and whatever to be used in there. So if you are going to throw a younger family into this place, that's already set up and ready to go for you, so you don't have to redo the bathroom. And then in here, this is the primary bedroom, which is like, it's the exact same size as the other room, so it really, either of these two upstairs bedrooms could be the primary. But in my head, this was the primary bathroom and primary bedroom. So I wanted this one to feel a little more spa-esque. So I did the pebble floor and threw in a dual shower. And then there's a dual vanity in here as well. So it's meant for the two Sims. They can be in here and, shower and brush their teeth and do all that jazz. So it's literally designed for two. And then I just swapped those out because the handle color went better with the wood on the background. But you can see how each of the three bathrooms have their own character and their own style. Otherwise, I think it would be really boring to have all the bathrooms be exactly the same. So I've really pushed myself to have different styled bathrooms in the home. Plus, then where you are. Like, you're not gonna forget where you are in the house. Not that this house is very big, but if you had a house that was a little bit bigger, you could almost know where you are in the house based off of what the bathrooms are. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But in this primary bedroom, I wanted a four poster beds, and then I ended up going kind of like pinky purpley in here, which is a little wild. I don't know why. It just kind of worked out that way. Um, Maybe they're really into purple. Purple is supposed to be a more like quote unquote royal color. That was sort of its origin. So I just thought uh, maybe that's the excuse that I'm thinking of in my head. I didn't intentionally plan it. I just landed on the purple swatch and was like, that looks kind of nice. So here I'm like, it's too white. Like I want something else. I start like toying around with the different colors, and anyway, I was like, oh, hang on. Like I was gonna do blue, but I was like, no, that doesn't. I wasn't feeling it. And then I found that swatch, and I was like, hang on, these are actually kind of nice. It's kind of a cool color that I don't get to use very often. So I just went with it. I just trusted it and went with it. And there I blacked out the walls again. I went with the blackout curtains as well. These curtains are actually sheer, so wouldn't work out all that well. But if they in real life, they'd probably be sheer. Oh, you can hear somebody driving by my house with a like. There's no muffler on their car. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in the world. But anyway, so that's sort of like the vibe that I went with this place. And then for the rug, I just went with a really plain rug. I didn't want it to sort of detract from the other tones that were in the room. So went with a very plain rug. And then I threw in this kind of almost botanical type of wallpaper. I think it came from Paranormal, but I really love that wallpaper. And then I did put a TV in the room upstairs just because before you go to bed, maybe they want to watch TV. I'm not crazy about TVs in bedrooms, but and then this is where I went a little wacko and kind of mirrored that purple color, and I think it worked out really well. But anyway, I'm not a huge fan of TVs in bedrooms, but I thought it suited this vibe that we had, and it fit in there. Plus, it gives your Sims something else to do. And then in here, I initially thought, well, maybe I'll just do another bedroom, but then I thought, well, they don't need it. So it became an office. I mean, this person did work in tech, and then the other one was an artist. So I thought, just because you're living here doesn't mean you're going to give up those hobbies. We need a space for it. So I made a space for it. And I love L desks, but we don't have an L desk in this game, which is ludicrous to me. We should have an L desk at this point. So I just created one by putting two of them together. So, we got the L desk, put a little lamp in here. I think I turned that lamp green. And then everywhere else, like this office goes pink. So this side is where, the more quote unquote tech focused is. It's kind of a fancy computer. Oh yeah, I threw this up on the wall. I thought maybe this came from I switched the color swatch, and it's like a really intense purple and yellow, and I don't know why, but the color scheme in my head, I immediately thought Nepal or India. Like it just reminded me of colors that I've seen, in like from India and Nepal, like in those areas. So I just thought maybe they picked it up I don't know, maybe they picked it up one day and they were traveling through there and saw it and were like, yes, let's bring this home. Hang on, where is it? There it is. That color scheme. I don't know why. It really reads. I don't know. It reads like it's from that from that area of the world. So threw that in here. I don't know why. Some pieces in this game, I like. They just speak to me, and like they trigger a thought in my brain. That was one of them. Anyway, random little tangent. So, and then this corner of the office is where I throw in the kind of like artist space. So I got the easel in here. I do throw down some, takes me a little second to find it, paint splattered rugs so that you don't get it all over the reclaimed floors. Not that I think they care about that, but anyway, it filled in that corner without me needing to put more furniture down. I was not necessarily running out of steam, but it was getting a little long. It did take me like 2.5 hours to make this. So this is where I threw like this stuff down and some more painting stuff, and those would have been just finished paintings, perhaps some of their custom work that they would sell. And then this little urn thing, I think that one's from Jungle Adventure, so maybe they picked it up if they were down visiting the Jungle Adventure world. What is it, Salvadorada maybe? Anyway, trying to remember the Sims worlds. And then this one here, maybe it was just a little lamppost from the barn that was, down the road too, where they got the floors from. So throw that little lamp in there. And then I think this room ends up being pink, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like pink and plywood. And then I put a fun light in the middle of the room too. It's almost it's almost an origami type of thing. So I was gonna go all pink, but then I thought, no, let's put some wood on the walls too. So that's when I ended up going with this almost like eco lifestyle plywood thing. So final save, and that's everywhere. We're gonna do like a little. I don't know how it's gonna work out. Oh, never mind. We have to do the terrain paint. See, I knew we were gonna get there. So for the terrain paint, I went really, really generic. So that's kind of like a darker, muddy color that's going through here. And then notice that I missed some of that. And I just kind of I put the little patio stones down and the more like worn grass and whatever is like the edges. So this is sort of like, I don't know, I just kind of tried to make it look as natural as I could without like necessarily overwhelming everything. So, and then this is a little like cobbled area that I went with. So you'll notice that this one here, like I want the driveway to look almost like it was overgrown, like it's not intentionally kept. It's like it's still there from driving over it, not because it's actually being 100% looked after, which, you got a garage, your cars can go inside. So it's not like you need to worry about parking on grass. And then I touched this area up. That's all. Oh my God, another car just like went by the place way too fast. Makes no sense. It literally just started storming outside, so I'm seeing people like driving really quick by my window. I'm like, what are you doing? Slow down. Like it's snowing out. So anyway. So here I am just like filling in underneath all these little I guess they're not little, but continuing with the little terrain paints or whatever. So anyway, once I finish that up, we're going to do a little run through of the house. But this is up on the gallery. My gallery ID is tylovsims, and the love is LOV. There's no E in it. I don't know why. I was just like, ooh, play on words, but no, it's not. It was probably a typo, honestly. But there's no E in it. It's just TYLOV Sims. So you can find me on the gallery. All of my stuff is up there. I am on Instagram. It's TL Design Studio. On Instagram, I throw up my own paintings and stuff like that. I post fairly regularly on there. But that's pretty much it if you wanted to find me. And yeah, I don't know, we're coming to the end here. I really liked this place. I enjoyed it. It was a fun, strong concept that I had in my brain, and just taking that inspiration and putting it down into this game. Just, I don't know, I really enjoyed this process. This was a fun one. Sometimes Sims you can get builder's block, or at least I find I do. But this one here, I think I had a bit of builder's block for a while. But this one here, it came together so nicely. And I'm pretty proud of it. Like, there's nothing. The actual shape of this house, if you look at the shape of it, there's not much to it. It's just a rectangle. But it's the details of it and everything that really make it sing. So here comes the little overview. I did like this kind of slow panning thing, was checking out the work. So you can see the front of the house coming over to the side, gives you an idea of what the land looks like all the way around it. There's the back of the house. And then over here on the side again. So little area. The actual gallery photo is of that side where the awning is. Yeah, so here's the hallway. Look at this. Oh, you come down the trees. You can see straight through the house with that big glass window that's there. That's like the main, quote unquote, main street. So then you come over here to the side and you go under this awning and into the main space. So this is where like you kick your coat off and everything. You can see upstairs. Here's the big vaulted area with the sky above you. Oh, it's really nice. It's kind of grand without being a big house. So in here is the little green bathroom, and then from there you go into the guest room. Look at it. Look how warm that is. I think that bedroom would be the one that I would want when I came here. So then you come under the catwalk. This is the, yep, see, I didn't do the ceiling. That's the little laundry room. And then in here, look at that. It just throws you outside. Like you're immersed in all of this, like all these bookcases and everything. Like you can see up to the blue ceiling. But it's all about just being thrown out here. So you can see like this would be, after dinner drinks and all that stuff. We come in here, and around the corner, this is the kind of like the great room. So you can see there's a 2-story vault there, the little pendant. This is the living room. Again, you can like throw outside, see all the greenery out there, glimpse of the garden. Nice little kitchen. I don't know, this house flows really nicely. So, and again, like, oh, you can just see that street flow right out. This is, I don't know, I like it. Ahead of us, that's that little random storage room. And then you come across the catwalk, and this is like the view that you see from that little catwalk. And again, with the 2-story vault, like you're back in that library space, but you're still kind of separated. And then come in this way, this is the primary bedroom. Nice little pano of the bedroom. There's a little bathroom. Spin back around. And then you come all the way back. You can see how like the blacked out area is kind of quiet and then close the space before it throws you out into the color. Here's a nice little office. And into the blue bedroom or bathroom. Spin back around. And then you just head back out. I think we're going to go out the back door. So we're going to go down that main street, quote unquote main street. Once I figure out what button gets me down the stairs, there it is. So this is like that main street, right? So everything comes off of it. You have your little library space. You've got your kitchen where I could think like a buffet would be there. Then you fly outside into where your garden area would be. And it just draws you straight out. So that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.